Midsummer in Canada's Yukon. Red Surge and Northern Pride stand on guard. The Mounties are at the summit of the Chilkoot Pass, waiting for a team of 19th century gold miners to cross this storied trail. For the past 40 days, 4 men and 1 woman have been living in the year 1897. Their food, clothing, and tools are period appropriate to a time when tens of thousands of gold-hungry Southerners, called stampeders, came over these mountains like an invading army. They were Americans and Canadians, Russians and Swedes, all driven half mad by the promise of easy Klondike gold. At the top of the Chilkoot, they were stopped by the Northwest Mounted Police, who confiscated guns and booze and made sure every stampeder had plenty of supplies. The modern-day team has also carried a back-breaking load up this trail. 3,000 pounds of gear, plus a boat. And like the Gold Rush miners, they too must pass inspection.
How you doing today? Good. That's all your stuff? Yes, sir. Who's traveling with you?
The production company arranged to recreate this historic scene using serving members of the mounted police.
What do we have here? These farms are going to be confiscated by the Northwest Mounted Police. You understand that? Now, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your supplies?
Pour it on my feet when I get big bad blisters.
Once past the Mounties, the men cast aside everything they were tired of carrying. One of the first things to go? Andria's sewing machine.
So what's happening, Rick? What's getting left and why?
Well, we're just going to try to get down to exactly what we need as far as food and equipment to get us the rest of the trip to Dawson, and everything else that we don't absolutely need, we're going to leave here to speed it up because we're taking way too long to get there and we'd like to make up some time.
Now, what about Andria's sewing machine?
I'd have to let Andria answer that because I can only speak from what's important to me, and so what else is important to everyone else, they're going to have to decide themselves.
Right. So if she wants to make her living with that sewing machine, she has to pack it?
Sounds good to me.
It's a harsh life.
It's a harsh life.
But how would Andria make her living?
Well, she's a showgirl, isn't she? No.
No, seriously, because it's important. How does Andria make a living without that sewing machine?
Well, she can. I mean, that's a question for Andria, I guess.
So what would your choices be in 1897 without a way to make a living on this trail?
On this trail, I'd have to make a living another way. You know, I'd have to mend things by hand with my needle and thread, with which I can carry. And I'd have to cook, and I'd have to do laundry, and I'd have to think of other ways to make money and to just, or swing some kind of deal with somebody, which really they're not into doing. I'm not even going to ask them because I know they're not. For all they care, I could just leave and they'll do my job because it's not a job anyways, it's just nothing. That's what I think anyways. I don't feel like I'm bonding with them. I feel like I'm an outsider. When I go to bed, they get out the guitars and they have a good time and they laugh and chuck it up, but when I'm around, they all just be quiet and it's, yeah, that's tough.
If anyone can take it, Andria Bellon can. A strong northern woman, Andria is the team cook who runs the kitchen with a firm hand. From day one, she warned the men about eating too much.
We're on short supply of everything. to last for 3 months.
That's all the vegetables we have in the little...
That little jar is all the vegetables we have. See what I'm saying, people? I told you guys.
The team has enough food to reach the gold fields, but carrying the boat over the mountains left the men hungry and tired. To be strong, they had to eat, hoping that somehow the food would hold out.
So what are you writing?
That I again find myself hungry. It's hard to think of anything else when your stomach's emptied.
The food issue caused tension, especially when Andria spelled out the choices they faced.
I know. So what do you want? You want me to ration you right now and feed you good along the way?
Well,
Not enough?
I don't think
Or you can pig out right now and be starving in 2 months.
We want more food. The more food we can eat, just the stronger we're going to become, because the trail's just going to get harder as we go.
The men were unhappy, and Andria was left to make the long crossing of the Chilkoot Pass without her teammates.
It's midnight and they're not here. They're off at home, all comfy in their cozy beds, putting their bellies full.
It took her 16 hours to reach the next camp. Six weeks into the journey, they have reached the edge of Lake Lindeman and set up camp at an old trapper's cabin. Lindeman is an important milestone for the Stampeders. The great mountains of the Chilkoot are passed, and bruises can now heal.
At this point in the trip, I look back on the last 40 some odd days that we've been carrying stuff over the Chilkoot Trail, and as much as it was the source of a lot of pain and discomfort and fatigue and experiencing hunger that I've never experienced before, just it's, as much as those are harsh memories, I'm kind of feeling a little nostalgic about leaving this part of the trail, this part of the journey behind, and continuing on in the water.
In 1897, the Yukon was a fabled land, an El Dorado where rivers flowed with gold. The newspapers of the time knew a good story when they saw one and sent a tribe of reporters to cover the stampede. One of the best was Tappan Adney of Harper's Magazine.
Lindeman is magnificent. 4 miles long with mountains like picture frames. It is alive with the air of hustle bustle. There are 120 tents here and half that many boats being built. The lake echoes with the industry of shipbuilding.
Lake Lindeman lies on the Canadian side of the Chilkoot Pass, 24 miles from where the trail begins at Dyea, Alaska. The gold fields of Dawson City are over 600 miles north. From Lindeman, the team will sail the many glacier-fed lakes which flow into the Yukon River. As they travel north, they'll need both luck and courage. The water temperature is just above freezing.
It'll bring this apart?
Mm-hmm. The boat they have carried so far is damaged. The wood is warped, the seals are cracked, and Joe Bishop is worried. He says the Yukon lakes are killing cold. So he tries something that might have been used in 1897. He fills the joints with pine tree resin.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yep.
Gotta christen it. I got my cup of tea here to christen your boat with.
The Yukon Patience.
I christened the Patience.
Okay.
And patience it is. Patience on the dangerous waters, and patience with each other. After all, that's what dreams of gold are all about. New beginnings.
Right. Is it dry up there, Sebastian?
The effort to get the boat this far has not been wasted. The pine resin works, and patience stays dry. In celebration of the first voyage, Andria forgets the rationing for one night and cooks a feast. Barley and carrots, potatoes and bacon.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Gold Rush Gourmet, 1897 style.
No, 3, no 4.
All this stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. What is there at the end of Lindeman Lake?
1 Mile Rapids.
Yeah, 1 Mile Rapids.
And this water's really cold here, right?
That's why I don't want to get too far from shore, is because I want to be able to swim without hypothermia setting in.
Definitely what Andrea said about the water being really cold is as much as the Chilkoot was the hardest part of the trail, the lakes are the most dangerous part of the route to the Dawson.
That's what's scaring me. Well, that's what's got my hackles up.
Under the midnight sky, another surprise. Joe Bishop, who makes his living as a professional musician, puts on a show. He's been writing songs on the trail, and this is one of them.
A little down the road, I know I'm going. A little down the road, I'll shed my burdens, meet my maker. A little down the road, just a little. A little down the road, I know I'm gonna make it. A little down the road, I'll be doing fine. I'll shed my burdens, meet my maker. A little down the road.
Day 43. Dave Delnia is taking this day for a different type of work. He's the expedition's photographer and is documenting the journey with a rare period camera. And like the journalists who walked these trails a century ago, Dave knows that gold is only one kind of wealth.
Went out today and shot some photos, which was great. Beautiful sunny day, and it's always just good to get out and get to use the camera. You know, sometimes I'm just packing so hard all day that you just don't get a chance to get all the photos that you want. So you got to remember that, you know, that's part of my job as well, or a big part of my job actually.
The storm will be breaking a little down the road. The storm will be breaking a little down the road.
Lake Lindeman is the first in a chain of lakes leading north. At its end, a dangerous channel. The team must choose between running the rapids or portaging around the rocks.
What do you think it was like going through here, Rick? Pretty hairy. Yeah, especially those boats, you know, if they don't steer very well, you're just kind of going wherever the water's going to take you. So, there's a lot of big rocks right there. They're not gonna move. The boat's just gonna crunch.
I wouldn't do it.
Joe, could you run something like this?
In the proper boat, you can definitely run this. The boat we have, it has no rockers, so it's made to track really well. It goes straight, and you gotta have a boat that you can maneuver around these rocks and that. We've got a boat we've carried over the Chilkoot. We can carry it this last mile, and we know it's in one piece when we start on Bennett.
A century ago, Tappan Adney stood on the same spot, but made a different decision.
With the speed of a bolt from a crossbow, the scow leaps from wave to wave, drenching us with spray. We avoid by the narrowest of margins jagged boulders, and in a slather of foam shoot out into the smooth water below.
The modern-day stampeders were cautious, but that too has its price. The weeks are passing, their supplies are dwindling, and the goldfields of Dawson City lie months away. Speed or safety? The dilemma every stampeder faced.
They say an army marches on its stomach, and that's been very true with us. Aside from our feet being sore and us talking about that for the first 2 weeks, all we've been talking about since is food. It's funny, a couple days ago, a ranger came into our camp and asked Andria if we sit around the fire and talk about sex, and she said, no, we talk about food, and that is on our mind all the time. And I'll show you something that nobody knows we have in here, and it's our burger of the month, and it's right behind me here. So that's our that's what we talk about, that's what we think about, and that's what we pin up in our tent walls, is food.
Lake Bennett. Their hard work to get this far is about to be rewarded. Homemade blueberry and apple pies, $20 each in 1897. The Gold Rush Trail was a busy place. Everything from crates of champagne to cages of canaries was for sale. Tired stampeders often gave up their dreams of reaching the goldfields, choosing instead to set up shop and mind the miners.
I feel like they got a lot of cinnamon in it. This is really good. There's 3 pies? 3 pies. Well,
Was that?
what do you think?
Really bad things can happen really fast. All your gear and
The pies were delivered by boat builder Greg Cheney, who also brought a second boat, a handmade, period-appropriate Klondike scow. Lake Bennett once echoed with the sounds of thousands of men making hundreds of boats, many of them scows. Everybody wanted one, including stampeder Esther Lyons.
It took 5 days to build our boat, a double-ended scow, 5 feet across and 3 feet deep. Last year, such a boat cost $75, but during the rush, $400 was cheap.
It's the most unusual thing I've ever seen. The old pictures show just hundreds and hundreds of boats in all stages of construction. Some were just little, almost like coffins. And a lot of people capsized, a lot of boats swamped. They were always making the decision between should they have a good, solid, constructed boat or should they get out of here quick. Quality takes time. That means you're going to be behind the guys that just left. But sometimes the guys that just left go out in the middle and sink. A lot of people did die, and a lot of people just lost their whole outfit.
Watch your face there,
Sebastian, that steering oar has to go way further back, dude.
Yeah, but it's really hard. Like the friction of the water.
I don't care how hard it is, just do it.
Sebastian, you're taking us the wrong way.
All right, how many kilometers we have to go? 800?
The dangers which lie ahead are far from their minds on this glorious day. But the first rule of the Yukon is clear. Send not your foolish. Day 50, and the weather has turned against them. Like many stampeders, no one on this team knows how to sail. With hundreds of miles of lake and river ahead, they'll have to learn fast.
The lakes are the biggest worry for me. I try not to worry about them, but I can't stop thinking about those big waves. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit, but I'll just row and paddle and listen to the skipper.
Been on a sailing boat once before I came out here, and I've been in a canoe 4 or 5 times before I came out here, so I'm just going to go with whatever the more experienced people say.
2 people with the most experience on the water is myself and Dave, so we're going to make sure one of us is on each boat at all times.
No matter what we run into, we're capable of dealing with it. I mean, the odds are, I don't believe anybody will perish on this trip.
It's going to be interesting trying to live on these boats, and especially for me, because I've never spent much time on the water. So it'll be really good. I'm going to learn how to paddle and how to sail, and we're going to build our own sails. We're going to take one of the tents and probably cut them in half to build the sails for our 2 boats. So that'll be interesting, and then give across the lakes, and then once we get on the river, it sounds like we'll just be paddling like madmen and working our way down to Dawson.
While they wait for the weather to break, there's plenty of work to be done.
I'm just taking all the knots off the mast so that we can drop the yard arm really quickly to get the sail down when we need to. They were testing it out here without a sail and without any wind on it, and it was still just had a lot of trouble sliding down the mast, so smoothing it out as best I can.
Started out using cotton thread, and now I'm using the sinew stuff because it's so much stronger.
So I'm just trying to find a piece of wood like this that we're gonna drill on the front of the boat for the mast. Okay. And I think this piece is gonna be this perfect piece.
Hundreds of boats were launched from Lake Bennett, each one carefully numbered. The mounted police insisted on this so they could keep track of those that sank. Hours later, the wind drops, and for once on this epic journey, calm waters lie ahead. The team is Dawson bound.
That looks good.
We're just about ready.
Dawson bound, Dawson bound.
Hoist the sail.
Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.
Sebastian, yeah, take a deep breath. We're not gonna, the boat's pretty stable, and I'm not gonna let it flip, don't worry. Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Wind and rain, won't send me back to where I came. I ain't ever gonna turn around. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.
Point. Worked 100 years ago and it works today just fine.
Don't you cry, don't you cry. Don't shed no tears when I say goodbye. I'll be thinking of you when I leave this town. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Ice and snow, ice and snow. Won't bother me none when the cold wind blows. I'll be digging for gold in the frozen ground. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.
Alright. That's great.
So, how was it? First day on the
A
water?
lot less scary than I thought, actually. Thanks, Dave.
Sebastian?
Ah, it was great. Yeah.
You did well?
Yeah. Kind of fun.
How was the boat?
Pretty good. It moved a lot, but it's stable. It just moved because of the wave. And just one time, there was one time that we tipped a little bit, but it was all right.
Well, we're gonna make her all the way for sure. So.
Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.
The wind has returned. Joe decides that sailing is too dangerous, and another day is lost.
If you're wondering how windy it can get here on Bennett Lake, I'm about to show you. So it's pretty windy. Sebastian's trying to fly. Andria's gonna try to follow him.
Yeah, well, we've got a little bit of time. It's just to try to trim up a little bit. Everything out here is hard. You know, just get up in the morning, you know, you got our big bulky bedrolls and stuff's in the boats and stuff's here. And if you want to make a meal, you got to dig everything out. And when you're done, it's not just, you know, you throw it in the dishwasher. Everything has to be cleaned and put away and kept organized so you can find it next time. Like, nothing is easy. It's all, everything's harder than what we're used to.
We're stockpiling because we're windbound on the island today to take advantage of the opportunity to just cook up a bunch of food. So if the weather turns good on us, we'll just have all that food available, so we won't have to be doing much cooking.
Right. We don't have a lot of food left, so we're down to bacon and beans and bannock.
Yeah, pretty well the bees, and we have butter as well.
And brown sugar.
And brown sugar and black coffee.
For Sebastian, this diet is not enough. He takes matters into his own hands. Squirrel hunting, the old-fashioned way.
I think it tastes pretty gross because it tastes like if they eat spruce, it's gonna taste spruce. But it's just the fact to have meat. I think it's gonna be just the protein and make chicken and beans. And I never tried squirrel, so.
So you've never tried?
No, but a lot of my friends tried before.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Did you like it?
Most of the times just to try it and just they wanted to eat meat, so they just have a squirrel.
But Sebastian has no luck. The squirrels live on.
Let's do her. Yeah. Yeah, let's take full advantage of this, and if we get this, if it storms up on us, then we pull off, and then if we get the same little break tomorrow, then we're around that point.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That's it.
Can I get that to go, please? Thank you. The canoe drive-through.
In 1897, less than a quarter of the 100,000 stampeders who left their southern homes made it to these lakes. Journalist Tappan Adney did, and crossed these waters in his scow.
A gale is roaring, turning the lake into a great sea. Now begins the fight. Whitecaps are boarding us, and our mast bends as if it would break. Not a cove or shelter is in sight, and the wind is getting worse.
In the late morning, the weather changes.
We pulling you?
Well, we gotta make sure we're close to shore. If this squall's moving our way.
That's what I'm trying to do.
The modern stampeders have sailed the lakes without incident, lack of food being their biggest worry, until nearing a place called Windy Arm. 60 miles south of Whitehorse, between Bennett and Tagish Lakes, is a deadly stretch of water, Windy Arm. As vessels approach the strait between the lakes, a strong south wind drives boats towards Sucker Bay. For experienced crews, Windy Arm is a hard passage. For the stampeders, it is dangerous. The struggle is useless, the wind too strong. Like thousands of stampeders before them, they are marooned in the Bay of Broken Dreams.
So you were rowing hard there?
Yeah, that was scary. Some of those waves are so big, you gotta put your oar down and you don't even hit the water, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's up on you. The whole Windy Arm just comes hammering onto this beach. It just gets pounded relentlessly.
The beach here is a graveyard of shattered Gold Rush boats. The scow Esther Lyons bought at Lake Bennett was one of them.
Few ever pass Windy Arm without having cause to remember it, and we were most dismally wrecked here. We were obliged to make camp and go looking for food.
The rhythms of life on the Gold Rush Trail are constant. Make camp, then look for food.
What do you have there?
Mossberries.
Mossberries. What are mossberries?
These little black berries here. They don't taste like much, but when you're hungry, they're awesome. And I've never seen them so many. But as the gatherer, I should be collecting them for, the collective. But
once again, Sebastian is on the hunt. 55 days into the journey, he is tired of bannock and beans. He wants fresh meat. With incredible luck, they catch a grouse. A successful but bloody end to a 19-year-old's first kill.
Trophy.
Dinner for 5. This is the first one. Maybe we'll get some more.
Maybe another one tonight.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Catching the grouse showed they were adapting to life in an earlier time. What came next tested their courage to its limits. Bath time, Yukon style.
From the glacier.
So what is the water in the Yukon like, Sebastian?
-20. I'm gonna see what's happening. So is it
Watch those rocks, they're sharp.
I'm the only one left. I don't want to go.
Come on, Andrea.
But I'm going to wear my ginch.
Oh, that's fine.
That's great. That's really good. Good call, Dave.
Right on!
Hannah!
That ain't that.
Early August. The morning sun in this giant land is hot, the earth verdant and alive. But the team has no time for beauty. Only one thing is on their minds: food. Joe Bishop says he knows of an abandoned Klondike village where there might be some berries. As Tapenadney traveled north, he too thought of food.
People talk of starvation. An old-timer once told me that he'd been here 11 years, and every year they thought they were going to starve. He'd been hungry, but he hadn't starved yet.
Holy, eh? Nice old cabin. Old barrel stove. Excellent.
Deserted gold rush towns like this are common along the banks of the Yukon River. The histories of those who lived here lost to the fast-growing bush. This village of ghosts offers up a gift, a banquet of berries.
It's good. Yeah, there's a lot.
Except I keep spilling them into my mouth.
Hunger is not so much the problem as it's the lack of nutrition that's in the food we're eating. It's not a balanced diet. So stuff like being able to pick berries or catch a fish really helps a lot.
In the forest behind the village, another discovery. A Klondike riverboat. A reminder of the time when anything seemed possible. Ghost towns and boats in the bush. Empty cabins and long-ago miners. In the Yukon, legends die hard, and memories are worth saving. Day 70. Andria has found her rhythm. Her hands are blistered, her face windburned, yet she is at peace.
Everybody's working just as hard. They see me, that I'm working as hard as them. They don't think that I'm sitting at home sewing all day, or reading, or cooking. And now they see me working, they see that I'm bone weary as them, and that I'm just as tough as them. It's tough hanging out with nowhere to go with 4 dudes you don't know, and they don't love you. You know, so it's another one of those count your blessings and not your troubles things.
We've had a lot of bad news on this trip, but the worst bad news we've had came this morning when we found out we were no longer allowed to use butter on our bannock. We've already dealt with running out of beef jerky, bacon, mashed potatoes, oatmeal, and a lot of other things, but now no more butter, so we're just eating bannock plain.
Another campfire meal, this one with a difference. Joe Bishop promised fresh meat, but it was not what they were expecting.
That's overdone.
Now the question is, are they hungry enough to eat Joe's gopher for dinner?
I've eaten snake before, and I've eaten shark, and I've eaten porcupine.
What about gopher?
I've never eaten a gopher.
I can't wait to eat it. No, it's meat, it's meat.
I'm definitely hungry. But once again, I'm glad I didn't have to be the one that had to bash its head in.
Oh, that was the head.
Is that a nose?
Oh. You guys.
Oh, hey.
Is that the little leg or the big
one.
leg?
That's a big leg.
But I'll trade you if you don't want it.
There's another leg, I guess.
Yeah.
There's 3 legs. Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, good stuff.
What's left for you, Dave?
There's a head with
Grosses me
teeth
out that the
and
hair
tongue
is
still in
going
it. Let's see if I can find the head. There's the head. Teeth, tongue, eyes, the whole bit.
Yeah, it's so good. It tastes like turkey.
Okay, let's have some beans to wash this gopher down.
Does anybody want a lung?
I think you got the best part actually, Dave.
Anyone want to try a lung?
I'll try a lung.
Yeah. This looks good.
Does anyone want some gopher skin? There's a little bit of heart left.
I have a heart.
Here's the rest of my bones you can pick off.
Sounds like a little.
2 days and 120 miles north. The Yukon River has carried them to a landmark place in Gold Rush history, Split Up Island. It was here Klondike Stampeders faced a tough decision: stay as a team or go it alone. The goldfields are only 2 days north. After months of working together, they could now make it by themselves. For this team, the ballet of the evening unfolds with familiar rhythms. But on this warm Yukon night, a tension has returned. Andria has told the men she's thinking of leaving. Dawson City is close. The smell of gold is in the air, and the ghosts of Split Up Island are restless.
I want the gold. I didn't work this hard to not leave with a nugget. I'm torn between being greedy for gold, gold fever, or if I go and get the job, then I'm guaranteed I can look after myself. If I go out into the gold fields, I'm not guaranteed that I'll survive. As a woman, I can probably get gold by working in town. But now I've established a kind of a camaraderie with these guys, and I'm torn.
That's right.
Next time on Klondike, the quest for gold, Dawson City. A kind of town where preachers drink doubles. Andria becomes the first female stampeder to cross the Klondike Trail since the Gold Rush.
And when they got to the summit, it was, well, we'll help you get to Dawson, but if you want that, you're going to have to carry it yourself.
If we split now, why would anybody that splits now be entitled to any future earnings?
The men can taste the gold and make a painful decision. That's next time on Klondike, the quest for gold. Dawson bound, Dawson found. After 71 days on the Klondike Trail, they have almost reached the rainbow's end.
It's our last day on the water. tomorrow we hit Dawson, so we're only about 15 kilometers or so from Dawson right now. We arrive tomorrow, and it's such a good feeling.
I don't know about the other guys, but I mean, I am here for the gold. Like, that is it, 100% in a nutshell. And I'm gonna do everything in my power to get as much gold as fast as I can.
Oh yeah, one other thing I'd like to mention, that there's one person that's really been starting to piss me off, and I'd just like to show you his face up close and personal.
We're going to Dawson. We got 15 more minutes to get there. I can hardly wait. I'm so excited. I'm nervous. And I can hardly wait to have a bath and a full belly and a beer. And a beer and a beer. And a bath and a beer.
For over 2 months, they have climbed mountains, crossed lakes, and lived off the land. It has taken 1,000 miles and 105 years, but they can finally call themselves Stampeders.
Dawson bound, Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Looking for gold that's never been found. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Wind and rain, wind and rain won't send me back to where I came. I ain't ever gonna turn around. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Dawson bound, Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Looking for gold that's never been found. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.
Looks good. That's it, eh? That's Dawson?
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think they thought, Andrea, 105 years ago when they saw Dawson?
I think they thought, woo-hoo!
At the height of the gold rush, Dawson City was almost as big as Seattle. Its streets teemed with gold-hungry Southerners known as Stampeders. One of those men was journalist Tappan Adney.
50 men go by, and no one knows his neighbor. If you see a man twice, you call him partner. But it is a lie, as is the word friend.
This team of 4 men and 1 woman have accomplished what no one has done since Tappan Adney's time. Crossed the Great Gold Rush Trail from Dyea to Dawson as period-appropriate Klondike Stampeders.
Sebastian looking at the camera, Rick
They began as a group of ordinary citizens. When it was over, they would never be the same.
I almost want to cry. I do already. And it's only day 2 and we haven't even got to the scary parts yet.
A homemaker and a photographer. A part-time miner, a folk singer, and a young man who lived in a van. On the great mountains of the Chilkoot, they carried thousands of pounds of supplies, plus a boat, up the slopes of loose rock, reaching the summit with relief and joy.
I didn't really want to say to everybody I'm cold, because I don't want that all the guys think that I'm just a kid.
This will be one of those days that I remember about the trip, like forever and ever.
By midsummer, food was low, and they learned to live off the land. The team faced many dangers on the journey north, but their biggest struggle was within the group. The men were not happy when Andria put them on short rations, leaving her to hike long portions of the trail without her teammates.
Do you see them here? It's midnight and they're not here.
Finally, on the outskirts of Dawson City, at a place called Split Up Island, Andria decided to go her own way.
I don't really have any plans to go out to the gold field with these guys. feel like I can do better for myself if I get a job in town.
Nice to see new people in town.
What a motley looking crew you are. Fresh from the creeks, are you? Got a few claims for sale. Jack Manure. Lovely to meet you all.
Nice to meet you, Jack.
A century after the gold rush, the people here are proud of their past. But Dawson City is also a town of beginnings.
Just don't get downwind of us.
Both Andria and Dave are starting new lives at Bombay Peggy's, the type of establishment that once welcomed many a lonely miner.
Wow.
Andria is only here for one night, but she's making the best of it.
In the bathtub, it's really easy to make the decision that you don't want to go on the claim when life is so good in the tub.
During the gold rush, the citizens of Dawson City picked their sins. Guns were out, gambling was in. A pouch of gold dust could buy just about anything, including what the newspapers called companionship. Like many women of that time, Andria arrived in town without much money. Tomorrow, she'll look for an 1897-style job, a respectable one. Dave Delnia also has a new life and a new look. Like most journalists of that time, Dave will not share in any gold his companions might find. Instead, he will live comfortably in town.
I have been told that I can get a bath here. Is this true?
You sure can.
All
If
right,
you
how
got
much?
have you got a nugget?
Well, not yet. I just got it.
For the others, comfort is a distant dream.
Even all the grit in the bottom feels good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like claws more than nails. You don't think they did this back in the day? This is first class. These pants fit when we left IE. And now they're like clown pants.
How much would a bath cost in the old days?
50 cents.
Oh.
50 cents?
50 cents?
Yes.
Would there be any extras or extra?
Shave would be 25 more. Well, Sebastian, if we can, we have friends, and we will try and find you a cigar.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
Later.
No one required cleaning as badly as Sebastian.
Hey.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Take it some more soap. Yeehaw! One, I just, yeah. Do you want some?
To celebrate reaching Dawson City, they're having the sort of meal weary travelers might have enjoyed in 1897.
Oh, my goodness.
For you. Oh, look at those appetizer plates in the middle.
Yorkies and prime rib.
Are there more pickled beets? Can you get another round of
Oh, I've been dreaming
Yeah.
about
Bring
this.
them. There we go. There's some more bread here.
Oh,
and I'll just
we'll
go
eat
get
it.
some more Yorkshire pudding.
I just stood up here and ate raspberries.
I felt a little guilty having such a fancy bath. As soon as I heard you had 5 ladies pouring water on you, I was like, never feel guilt again.
Tomorrow, they are going their separate ways. But first, they must resolve the crucial question faced by every stampeder who made it this far. If they find gold, how will it be shared?
Now, if you do find some gold, how will the gold be split up? And has Andria's contribution, is that worth a share of the gold? Good question.
Doesn't have to be a big share.
Well, I think the best way to work that out is if we find nothing, are you willing to give us some of your wages?
Certainly. I already said I would.
So then it's still a gamble for all of us.
And if we split now,
Why would anybody that splits now be entitled to any future earnings? That's just the way I see it.
They still need to have a share, but maybe not the fifth of the gold, because like they put all the work to come here, but there's actually the work for the gold too. That it's not.
She's not willing to go out there and risk not making any money, whereas we are taking that risk. There's no guarantees we will get anything, and there's no guarantees that you would come out and support us if you knew we were working a dead mine. Because there'd be no evidence there that we were going to be successful, and you might run into a successful miner in the meantime. So, I mean, historically, I'm sure that happened. Yeah. Why stick with a bunch of people that are digging dirt all day, you know? So,
By the end of the meal, it has been decided. Andria will get nothing. Some women did work in the gold fields. Most, however, found a more efficient way to strike it rich. They mined the miners. Martha Black, known as the first woman of the Yukon, kept a diary of her time in Dawson.
There are about 4,000 men here, and 150 women. An Englishman I knew was separated from his pocketbook by one of the peroxide beauties of the north. There is many an El Dorado to be found in simple-minded men.
And this is where the men, simple or otherwise, came to be separated from their gold dust. Klondike Gates. The Moulin Rouge, Yukon style. Day 73, a visitor for breakfast. Yukon miner Sam Holloway.
So, what is the definition of a Yukon gold mine?
I don't know. What's that?
That's a hole in the ground with a liar standing in it. I got sent on more
Sam
wild
has
goose
prospected
chases.
for
I
gold
believe
all
in what
his
somebody
life.
tells me about
If he
gold.
found any, he's not saying. But he has arranged for the team to work a claim. Last Chance Creek. Sam says it's a sure thing.
I guarantee you there's gold in that little valley down that claim you're going to. But using only a rocker, it's going to take some luck to hit it.
To reach the claim, Rick, Joe, and Sebastian have hired a pack train from local horse wrangler Bentley Schmidt. He's not sure where Last Chance is, but in the Yukon, no one lacks confidence, and Bentley says he'll find it.
It's funny because all the trip I didn't talk about gold, but now I started really thinking about gold, and
Sebastian's gold fever is starting to burn. He's 19, he's broke, and he hopes Last Chance Creek will put some money in his pocket. Inexperienced miners were called chichacos, and they walked these trails by the thousands, convinced that treasures of gold lay just ahead. By the time they reached the gold fields, most of the valuable claims had been staked. Wise stampeders hooked up with old-timers and worked for wages. Others vanished into the bush, taking advice from no one and hearing nothing but the call of the wild. They were looking for claims like Rabbit Creek, where it all began in August of 1896. Within weeks of this first big strike, miners found gold at Independence, gold at El Dorado, gold at Hunker, gold everywhere. Rick, Joe, and Sebastian are heading for Last Chance Creek, which lies in the heart of the gold fields. The problem is, Bentley can't find it. The trails all look the same, and in the thick bush, he has lost his way. Hours later, Sam Holloway is worried. He's driven out to the claim to help the team get settled, but they are nowhere to be found.
I think I'm stuck here for a while.
How long of a journey is it from town out here?
They should have been here in about 8 hours with that pack train. 3 or 4 hours ago, they should have been up on that ridge ready to come down. And that's about a 20-minute walk. They're up on that ridge somewhere. They've gone down the wrong side.
Not only have they gone down the wrong side, they've gone down the wrong valley.
Tired of this or what?
It's getting pretty heavy in here.
Big trouble now.
Now we know what they call this a shortcut.
After months of work to get here, Sebastian's hopes of striking it rich are fading as the evening shadows grow. Danger is ever present in the Yukon. By midnight, they are exhausted and lost in the deep bush.
Hike today definitely ranks up there as one of the hardest days we've had. We keep thinking it's going to get easier eventually. This is my first experience at prospecting and mining, so it's not quite what I expected.
The Yukon is an immense wilderness, which has swallowed many a southern Chilkoot. Sam Holloway has chartered a helicopter to find the team. He knows that gold fever hits like the swipe of a grizzly's paw, and that's why miners, even today, disappear in the Great Alone. Just as they did in 1897, Tapanagni.
It is a wonder to all who see the newcomers set out across the land in their fancy hats and leather shoes. Some even dress in house clothes. Providence alone will save the Chilkoot.
A century later, Providence is still watching. Sam spots the team. They have been lost in the bush for 30 hours.
Jungle out there. Brought coffee. I'm getting worried about you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, we got lost and then we didn't get lost. We tried to take this trail straight down the hill and we got stuck in the bush. We had to turn around and go all the way back up.
I didn't expect walking that long. I was expecting a little 5 hours walk, 24 hours walk.
We haven't eaten since yesterday morning at 7 a.m. and we're hungry and tired. And we just want to get to camp so we can set up and eat.
Andria has found a job. In fact, she's found two. She's moved from Bombay Peggy's to a local hotel to do the sort of work a new woman in town might have done in 1897.
I work at the bunkhouse here where I stay. I'm there every morning. I go and see if there's work. When things are tight, I don't have a lot of money. I pretty much work for my food. I work at the tavern, a place called The Pit.
So Andria, how do you like working here?
It's better than making bannock.
And you're actually getting paid wages. It's a real job, right?
A real job, yes. everybody thinks I'm super amazing and skookum and tough for have completed what we did. And really, I don't see myself as super amazing. I see it as something that I did because I had to do it.
For Dave Delnia, his life in Dawson City is a mixed blessing. He is comfortable and well-fed, but misses the camaraderie he felt on the trail.
The boys headed off to the claim, Rick, Joe, and Sebastian. That was a little hard for me because this is the first time when our roles sort of, they differ, and that was tough for me to, you know, up till now I've just been one of the guys, and since I've been here, you know, there's the sort of the class systems are a little different, and as the journalist, I would have stayed in Dawson and stayed in a bunkhouse or a hotel room and ate at restaurants, and the guys would have gone off to the mines, and I would have stayed here and, you know, worked on my writings and compiled my notes, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Gold Rush journalists competed fiercely for stories, and there were plenty to tell. Tapenadney.
It is impossible for anyone to escape what I call the Klondike magnifier. Life here is unbelievable in the telling. But you can't tell no lies about the gold fields.
At the peak of the gold rush, Dawson City was the most exciting place on the planet. Champagne for breakfast, moose for lunch, caviar for dinner. Anything could be had for a nugget of gold. The gold was found in places like this, Last Chance Creek. With Sam leading the way, the team has finally found it. 10 weeks after they began, they have reached the end of the trail.
This is it. Hey, so we're here, we're on the ground. Here's going to be the church. We're the first.
So I guess
last chance.
Last chance, yeah.
End of the rainbow,
Yeah,
right here.
Great. Oh,
This claim has produced gold since 1898, since Robert Henderson came through and told everybody to come over this way.
Do you have any idea how much?
I don't know how much. Miners will never tell you exactly how much gold they're getting.
But seriously though, a small creek like this could easily produce gold.
Oh, for sure. There is hardly a creek anywhere in the Klondike that doesn't have a pay streak running down.
Life on a mining claim hasn't changed much in a century. It is damp and it is muddy.
Got to locate where the gold was being carried across it, because if any gold was carried across that, it would have worked its way into that bedrock.
just dirt, eh? Oh. Yeah. Oh, and there's the holy permafrost right there, eh? Holy.
Much of the ground in the Yukon is permanently frozen. During the gold rush, stampeders worked through the winter building fires to melt the earth. This type of prospecting is called placer mining. The work is the same today as it was in 1897. Pick and shovel, water and pan. Rick Unruh would have fit in with those stampeders. Like many of them, he's a family man. But he endures the loneliness. The lure of gold is strong.
The gravel's really rusty. And rusted gravels are an indication that there's mineralization. So, and you know, any areas of mineralization are a good sign that there's potential for gold there. I got this sample from as low as I could, and we'll just pan her down and see if we can get any colors out of her. Water is extremely cold. Just hope to see the nice little flake or two to at least let us know we're kind of in the right spot here. If you're finding enough color over a large enough area, you might want to bring in a rocker or even build a sluice system. A color is usually a piece of gold so small you can't even pick it up with your fingers. And anything that you can pick up with your fingers, I usually consider that to be a nugget. If there is any gold, it would be right up in here. You can see there's a slight layer of real fine black sand up there. Really fine black sand, but not even a color. Not even a color here, so.
To find the gold, you follow the water. It shapes the land and grinds rock into gold.
This is a rocker box, faster than panning. It's a box that rocks back and forth, and you can take this little hopper thing here with holes in the bottom. It goes up in the top. You would put gravel in there. You would pour water into it, and then you would rock it back and forth, and all the small gravel will work through the holes, and it'll drop down through, and underneath inside there's a small sluice system, and the lighter material should wash through, and your gold and black sands will get caught down in this small little ripple system that we have in there.
Some miners say there's music in their work, and it's the sweetest sound of all. Like the tinkle of nuggets on a banker's scale. It is the sound of money. But only a few will ever hear it.
We're finding lots of rocks.
Andria has been invited for tea. Many of the women of Dawson City came as young brides and spent their lives on the gold fields. They have sympathy for what Andria has been through.
How long since you've had tea out of a china cup?
Months. Tea out of a tin cup. A chipped tin cup. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, that is good. A dry spell. I just wondered what your impressions of Dawson were when you arrived here.
All I could think of was the bathtub. The bathtub. There's got to be a bathtub in this town somewhere.
And you found
I did. I found a very nice bathtub with bubbles up to my chin. And I didn't have to share the bath water with anyone.
That's even better.
Oh, tell me about your sewing machine.
The sewing machine got left at the summit. The men folk had made a deal that they'd help me get to Dawson with my things. And when they got to the summit, it was, well, we'll help you get to Dawson, but if you want that, you're going to have to carry it yourself.
That sewing machine would have been worth $10 million once you got it into Dawson City.
I had to make some very hard choices, and yes, I left my best friend at the summit.
So are men just as macho and chauvinistic now as they used to be? I thought maybe they had been taught something.
Well, I totally felt like that. They were having. I would get up early and I would make them breakfast, and get them up when breakfast was ready, feed them, send them on their way. They wouldn't even bring their dishes to the dish bin.
In 1898, they treated women like they were something from heaven, and they would have just, you know, done their best for you. So being a liberated woman in this day and age probably wasn't much of a help to you. They probably said, let her do it herself.
That's exactly what happened.
This is life.
Great life.
Life on a placer mine. It has rained every day. Our gold pans were full of water. It just stopped hailing out. And these are the happy miners. Last night we had the river come up overnight with the heavy rains, we lost a little bit of equipment, but that's no big problem. So we're just going to keep plugging along here. And again, the hardships we're experiencing, I just kind of look back at the people that were doing this 100 years ago and thinking this is what their lives were like day in, day out for possibly years.
After a few days on the claim, how does it look?
We didn't find nothing yet, maybe too little color. So it's not really exciting at the moment. We don't feel like we're gonna find gold.
So it's just a life of digging holes?
Yeah, digging holes, through some mud in the pan, wash with water, throw the rest in the water, some more mud in another pan, cut some firewood, hang around camp when it's raining, eat a lot of bannock, and that's pretty much the life at the claims.
Back in town, Andria isn't having much fun either.
This is the hardest part now, staying in town and staying focused on my task. But all I do is worry about the men. You know, I'm thinking, I hope they're okay, I hope they get gold, I hope they're eating properly, I hope they're not burning the bannock, I hope they don't waste their sugar.
Dave Delnia is looking for a story. He's rented a horse and is heading to Last Chance Creek. Despite the comforts of town, Dave is lonely. After months together on the trail, he's happy to be back with his friends.
Hey.
Were you riding horseback?
Oh yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Great. No 30-hour adventure for me.
No.
Loneliness was part of frontier life.
Postal service, my friend.
Whoa.
Dawson City had mail service, but news was rare, so letters were worth their weight in gold.
There's been lots of sitting around just thinking about what's been going on out here.
Sebastian has been away from home for almost a year. He left to find his way. Now, after months of silence, a letter from his parents.
What's the news from home?
Just good news. It's so nice to have news from my friend, and everybody's really happy of me, and everybody miss me. It's a strange feeling. I never thought like I left Quebec like a bum, and now everybody know my story, and yeah, it's awesome. I'm like shaking. I'm so excited.
For Rick, there is no mail, and this worries him. Nothing from his children, nothing from his wife. By nature, he is a hard worker. Today, he works harder. Andria has finally heard from home, a letter from her husband. She married him after knowing him just 9 days. 9 years later, she's not sure if she's going back.
Good news, he's got a job. Good news, he's got another job. Dog wags his tail. Future looks great.
After 10 days at Last Chance, they have found nothing. Rick has panned endlessly, driving himself hard to cover the pain of missing his family. All he has found is frustration and heartache.
It's just my little guys. Sixth birthday. 2 days ago. And I wasn't there.
In 1897, Tapenadney saw the same thing. Sadness and anger everywhere.
Many are stopping, throwing up their hands in disgust. They go around the creeks cursing and swearing at those who brought them. Some say the Klondike is nothing but a moose pasture.
Joe Bishop is at home in the Yukon mud. He grew up in Detroit, but moved north to find some peace. Whether he finds gold or not, Joe is happy just to be here.
Okay, let's start a new song.
It's rain. It's so much fun outside
again. Oh, yeah, again.
We've had our adventures. We had a bear come and tear through camp, creating a little bit of havoc and eating a little bit of food, but we scared her off. And a couple shots from the shotgun, and I don't think we'll be seeing much more of that bear anymore. We gave it a good scare. Well, Rick did.
See, there's our problem right there. Damn, I missed him. But hopefully he'll know better than to come back here again.
In the late afternoon of their 85th day, their hard work pays off. Joe finds gold.
There's gold in these creeks.
No way!
Yeah.
Holy! Oh, good score, Jojo.
That's great, man.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lunker. Wow.
The nugget is only worth a few dollars, but the achievement is priceless.
All right, boys. So you got your big nugget now. Yeah, now time for everybody to get their big nugget.
The team can now stand beside the Gold Rush ghosts of Swiftwater Bill and Skookum Jim as men who have pulled gold with their own hands from the earth. In Dawson City, Andria Bellon is about to strike her own vein of gold. The tavern where she works sometimes pays its staff in nuggets. Today is payday.
I'm sure you'll find this
Wow.
token sufficient to represent the wonderful work you've done here at the Westminster Hotel.
Oh, thank you.
There's something for your man up the creek.
Yukon gold, 50 times more valuable than the nugget found by the men. With her newfound wealth, Andria has rented a wagon and decided to come calling. She is lonely, and despite the tensions on the trail, she misses the men. In 1897, it was not unusual for women to bring food or gifts to the claims. Martha Black, one of the first women to live in Dawson City, was a regular visitor.
On those glorious Indian summer days, I went to the diggings and met all sorts of men. People said I should take a revolver, but I had no fear of anything, especially if I had a stout stick.
Clocks and schedules are irrelevant. You go by how long it takes to get the job done without wrecking the man or the team, and you just deal with life.
Martha Black would have liked Andria. Life in both centuries has not been easy for her. But as the long summer nears its end, she makes two decisions. She will return to her husband. She will also share her gold with the men. Why? Because she learned bridges are better built than burned.
It's been horrible. It's been wonderful. I hate them. I love them. I can never make up my mind, just like in real life.
Oh, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, here.
Oh, do you want a seat?
I ate half it on the way out here. Oh, I brought you chocolate too. And not only that. Wow. A pie. And check it out. I didn't wash my plate just for you guys.
Looks like one of ours.
In 1897, 100,000 Southerners left their homes for the Klondike. Only 30,000 reached Dawson City. Of those, less than half staked a claim, and only a few hundred got rich. The Stampeders returned from the Klondike as men return from war, battered and bruised, yet wise beyond their years. And like this team, they came home joyous to have survived the incredible journey and full of stories and songs. For 3 months, these ordinary people lived in a time when adventure sprang from the hearts of the least expected. At the end of the Great Klondike Trail, like most stampeders, they found pride of achievement and warmth in fellowship. A century later, these riches still shine like a glacier at sunrise or a virgin nugget washed clean in a gold miner's pan.
I got a nugget right, or a small, we call that a flake, right there. So it keeps me going.
They left with such big dreams and, you know, this huge adventure. They were going to come up here and they were going to hit the mother lode and everybody was going to be rich. And then to get here, and there's nothing, you know, there's nothing there.
I read this book about Klondike women, and one of the women said it was no big deal, but when you're doing it and you're just in survival mode, it's just survival mode. You just do what you have to do to get by.
This is the challenge, and once you step foot on that trail, you know, you're in it for the long haul.
I learned that it was a pretty simple and fun life back then.
So you had some fun?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. A lot of fun, a lot of hard time, but fun time.
Dawson bound, Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Looking for gold that's never been found. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Wind and rain, wind and rain won't send me back to where I came. I ain't ever gonna turn around. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Dawson bound, Dawson bound. Woo-hoo! Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Looking for gold that's never been found. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound.